It's a lot of talent on the floor, a lot of interesting strategies. So looking forward to doing this one tonight.
Same. And the tactical wrinkle.
All right, we lost Danny for a second there, but that's okay. So let's see if it became official. I was actually with my daughter for the last 90 minutes, so I was not checking Twitter of whether Maxi Kleber is going to play or not. All right, there we go.
Can you hear me now?
Yes. Yeah, I was able to hear you before, and then you disappeared.
Oh, yeah. Oh, okay. Well, there we go.
Yeah. Now we're in good shape. So yeah, we're is Kleber playing? Have you I haven't been online for the last 90
available.
Minutes, so.
He is available.
Now, it wouldn't shock me, honestly, if he's kind of more of a break glass in case of emergency. I would be surprised if we see him before Dwight Powell, maybe if they get down. But part of the reason, the value, I think, in making him available is that it just gives Minnesota something to think about. Because if they do go 5 out potentially with him at center, that's just like the defense on that is so much different than what they've been dealing with before.
Yeah, I think that's a reasonable take on it. And I'm not as freaked out with Kleber returning maybe a little bit early because this is not a muscle injury. So, kind of on those fronts.
So Kyrie comes away with the tip, and they start with McDaniels on him, Edwards on Luka. We'll see if that change persists. They try to go to a back screen. Now they set up the pick and roll. Luka kicks it out. Conley helping off of Jones Jr. They move it back to Luka. Edwards is right there. Luka will shoot over him and misses. So good first defensive possession there. The only thing they gave up was that pass back over the top to Jones Jr., and Conley was able to handle him. Now Edwards guarded by Luka. Oh, right down to Gobert, and they're going to say no. Edwards stepped on the baseline, which I that was kind of a weird move. I'm not sure why he was. That's what the result of his attack against Luka was. It was a good screening action to get Luka onto him. So Kyrie trying to go at Conley to get the switch, and then Kyrie gets to his spot.
And Kyrie just getting downhill, but interested in the Anthony Edwards-Luka thing. We'll keep an eye on that the next few possessions.
Yeah. Well, I think maybe what they decided was we don't have anyone who's going to stop Luka anyway, so let's see if we can stop Kyrie. There's McDaniels crossing over on Gafford, and nearly all of those mid-range attacks for him have been great. Now Luka tries for the TD pass, but Conley was there to disrupt. Tim McMahon wrote an article about those TD passes today. Here's Towns, tried to draw the foul, didn't get it, didn't matter.
And that was a more aggressive finish by Karl-Anthony Towns on Gafford. We've seen him be reluctant and kind of take some worse shots because of the rim protection.
Well, and having Gafford on him as opposed to as the help guy is much easier for Towns to deal with. Now Luka is Edwards trying to get over the screen. Good screen by Gafford. Luka gets him on his back. He comes around, but Luka has missed a couple of jumpers. Double screen here for Edwards. Gafford is up, finds Gobert underneath, and he just blew it. Just got to catch that ball and finish it. There's no two ways about it. Now here's Irving setting up Washington, right corner three. Missed it. Gafford goes flying. Jones able to recover on the baseline. Doncic on the pass fake. He's got Conley on him and shoots over him. Yes.
And we've seen a number of missed jump shots early from Dallas, but still 5-4 lead after that Luka made three.
Kyrie is on McDaniels. Here's Towns. He tries to run the open side with Edwards, and a reach-in is going to be called on Derrick Jones Jr.
First foul on Derrick Jones Jr., first foul in the game.
Here we have seen some long periods of play here. And yeah, no, it's a 5-point swing due to the Rudy turnover. I wouldn't quite put it on that if Washington had made that first three, but they got the offensive rebound. Maybe you could say the offensive rebound happened as this is a kind of a speculative shooting foul, wouldn't you say?
I did not expect that to be called a shooting foul.
Yeah, I was definitely. It's always just like I just start talking about something else when I see it. I'm like, oh, they're inbounding from the side. Like, wait, are you shooting? What?
From Truth, do we have a lively timeline? We do not. I haven't heard or seen anything yet on availability.
He was doubtful for this game. They ruled him out, but I think the impression that I get as Edwards goes under all these is that he could be back to the vibes. And Edwards now is going to get the steal, but he reached around Luka. I think he grabbed him around the waist with his right hand there. Let's watch the right hand here of Edwards. Yeah, he's got it on his shoulder.
Yeah, and that's at an angle. Even though the ref is on kind of the opposite side, they can see that hand reaching around.
Yeah, there's no official designation on Lively. That's just the kid did say he was feeling a lot better. Good denial by McDaniels on Jones. They get it into Kyrie, guarded by Conley, and Conley took it away from behind. Wolves' defense has been extremely handsy here early.
Second steal for Conley.
Again, though, they get nothing in transition. Edwards comes off the Gobert screen. Edwards goes between his legs. Good contest by Gafford, but he got him on the forearm. But I've liked some of the actions that they've done to get Edwards into a little bit more space there with Gobert popping up quickly. They had the Edwards on the open side with Towns. So I like making his initial read to just attack easier.
And even though he missed that one, Edwards getting 4 free throws in the first 3 minutes. That's a good sign for kind of his place within the offense.
Yeah, Edwards did miss that free throw. He's got another one here. And 0 for 2. Now he'll pick up Kyrie. Kyrie on the attack into the lane. Edwards stays with him nicely. Gobert just knocked it away. Another turnover by Irving. He's been a somewhat unreliable, usually a very low turnover player these last couple of games. Conley on the drive. He goes for the righty floater over Jones. What a move. He thought Jones had him swallowed up there. Now it's McDaniels back on Luka. I think with Edwards on one foul, they decided to switch the matchups up again, trying to keep Luka off of that screen and force him left. No foul there. Luka's been very aggressive. Jones on the back cut. Gobert forced the miss and then tipped it out. Edwards has no one in front of him. Luka trying to get there. Edwards does finish that time.
And that's successful transition offense for Minnesota.
Yeah, a rarity, and credit Gobert for tipping that rebound out to start the fast break. Now it is Edwards back at Luka. Luka going to try to draw a second on him. Goes away. You see Edwards being very relaxed as that time Luka, they went to the late switch defensively, and Luka shot the jumper over Gobert. Screen for Towns. Now Edwards going to post up. First time we've seen this look. Flare screen for Towns. He's going to go into the drive, and this will be a non-shooting foul. But that's interesting. Towns, to me, the 2 times he's caught the ball, hasn't even thought about taking a 3, where, of course, he's been brutally called. I mean, some of the numbers in Dave McMenamin's story about Karl Anthony Towns shooting were like, these are in many ways, these first 3 games have been one of the worst shooting performances by anyone in a first 3 games of a series. Good topside by PJ Washington to prevent Towns from coming off the screen. Now it's the Conley Gobert pick and roll. Powell is in. He does predate Maxi Kleber as predicted. Now it's Doncic again. Edwards picking him up. Doncic fires. Oh, yeah. Whew. And 8 points for Luka.
And I'm not going to criticize Anthony Edwards for playing the drive instead of the shot there, because the drive is more dangerous than the shot.
Yeah, and he is also, he doesn't want to pick up the second foul. Now they short the pick and roll. That was nice. Gobert, again, couldn't quite squeeze it. And that pass was tough, but it'd be nice if he could catch it. I'd put that 50-50 at that turnover. Doncic is continuing to complain about the handsiness of McDaniels. Kyrie over Gobert. That misses. Gobert, for all of the criticism he's gotten, did allow like 0.75 points per isolation this year. Quick 3 from Edwards misses. Brutal pace now with Irving crossing over on Conley. Gets to his spot. Can't get the finish. Rebound goes over Gobert's head, but it'll be Wolves ball.
Kyrie Irving, 1 for 4 from the field, and he's only listed as 1 turnover. I thought it was 2. Maybe they called one of those a missed shot. But we have Nate. We have a 10-10 start. Who do you think has had the run of play so far? Oh, unless he's not there. Otherwise, that's okay. You can get some of your questions. Is it actually a neck sprain for Lively? I mean, we don't have independent verification here, so it's very difficult to find out. It could be. And I mean, if it's a neck issue rather than a concussion, that would be fantastic. But and if you're having issues with the stream, I would just try refreshing. I mean, generally that's something that could go, whether it's our audio or video. But yeah, I don't know. And having to rely on teams for all this stuff is difficult, but that's also just the system that we have. Do you think Luka is going to start getting some of these fouls? Yeah, I mean, first of all, he already got one, the Anthony Edwards reach. So he's already gotten one. But Minnesota can be handsy, and whether it's called by this group and this is Foster, Kennedy, Malloy, like I think that generally they're going to let a little bit more contact go. But sometimes the line for officiating groups that can sometimes let handsy plays go, sometimes their line is it's easy to go over it to kind of exceed it. So I would expect Doncic and the Mavs to get a few more calls just as things go. Minnesota might get a little bit more aggressive, but broadly speaking, refs have preferences on what they're going to do. So I think it's going to be called similarly to this for the duration, except for maybe the start of the third. I'm not going to get into finals odds because Nate and I are going to do a long preview. I still need to kind of wrap my brain around what that series would be. So in terms of like who I'd pick or anything like that, because I actually think this is a close call. And first of it's not like betraying the podcast, betraying my thinking. But the other part of it is that my thinking is incomplete on it as of now, even though it seems like the overwhelmingly likely series. And then the other massive component of that from an analysis standpoint is getting more detail on Derek Lively's availability, because as we will see in this game, Lively is extremely important to the Mavs. And so if this is really a short-term thing where, maybe there's a possibility if there is a game on Thursday that he could play or sometime soonish, and so we're not worried about this a week from now, well, then I'm going to feel a lot better about Dallas's chances. Didn't they say Lively will be back for Game 5 if needed? You might have heard that. I have not heard that. But the other consideration there is no like heft behind those words necessarily. Like they can say whatever they want. There are all sorts of these sorts of claims.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's probably worth it to say that just so that you don't have Minnesota being like, oh man, yeah, we're down 3-0, but Lively is out, right? Like they know how big of problems they've had with him. So you might be like, oh, it's a totally different series now, right? But if he's coming back next game anyway, you're kind of like, how much hope do we really have, right?
So Nate asked you, who do you think has had the run of play so far?
Wolves.
I think so too. Their defenses look good. They've been forcing turnovers, and I mean, I don't know if
it's been all Doncic making tough shots so far, which he could do, but Dallas can certainly win that way, but they'd rather win by just getting great shots every time, which I don't know that they're doing. Here's Edwards now going to the isolation again, and this is something I thought they should have picked at more in the last game was Green guarding Edwards. I think Edwards can really dominate that matchup, and I love getting Ant the ball with a live dribble, 16, 17 feet from the basket and forcing Dallas to make a decision about doubling him. And here's another steal. Powell with a terrible turnover. Gobert, he steps around Powell beautifully and finishes. Hasn't been great for Powell so far.
No, it is not.
I mean, it's good to see Lively on the bench there as well. I mean, that to me does give more credence to the idea that he's actually didn't have a concussion. I mean, he hasn't been the protocol. Now Doncic backing down. Edwards tries to get chesty with him, and he forced a pretty difficult shot. I know Luka's made a lot of those in this series, but nobody can make all of those all the time. He's capable at times, sure. Now Gobert. Oh, what a pass behind his shoulder on a fantastic cut from Towns. And look what they are doing, Danny, to the rim right now with no Gafford, no Lively. Here's Green on the drive. A nice pass there to find PJ Washington in the corner. Gobert on the good box out once more. Here's Edwards getting space on Green. Gobert's open underneath, doesn't see him. He's just going to continue to back down. McDaniels clears out. Good double team time by Powell. Still got time here, though, with Towns against Luka. He'll go to his left, tries to go through him, tried to throw it up to Gobert. He gets it off, and it'll be free throws for the big Frenchman. And, I mean, the difference in this Dallas defense with Dwight Powell out there is insane. And I think pretty soon they're going to come to the conclusion that they need to just go either Kleber if he's available or PJ Washington at center, because they need to space the floor out, because Powell can't do anything on offense either. Like, he is really an absolute cipher on both ends.
It's both things. It's like, if you can't defend, you might as well have some offense out there. Right. And if you can't score, then you might as well have some defense out there. And so you do the best you can. And it's daunting.
Well, and the problem too, though, is if you go Washington at center, then you're kind of short on wing players. Then you got to get into the Hardaway Juniors of the world, or go back to Exum potentially.
Yeah,
and those guys haven't particularly performed either.
And also, it potentially separates Washington more from your best lineups, because he can, you can't have him be both your backup center and your like starting closing forward without some serious managing.
Doncic again trying to draw the foul. He's been very upset about the contact being allowed to McDaniels. Anderson finding Gobert. That's the right pass. Wide open McDaniels corner three, misses. But Wolves continue to get whatever they want on offense, and that is a very stupid foul by Rudy Gobert.
Well, that's one way to get less mad at the refs, is by having Minnesota commit a foul that they have to call. And that's not a circumstance like the stopping short. Like, Luka had already physically stopped, and Gobert just ran into him.
Yeah, Chris Paul's like, stopping short. That's my move. You stole my move. 2-3 zone here for the Wolves. Hardy goes right in, but he just blew it. It is remarkable how few of these shots Gobert is actually challenging. Here's Edwards, breaks the ankles of Washington and drains the three.
And so that is the other, like, Minnesota being, I guess they're only 1 for 4 from three. I don't know why I thought they'd made another couple.
So Dallas, Luka has 8 of their 10 points. Back to the zone again. They get Washington. There's a challenge by Gobert with Naz Reid, and he felt more comfortable leaving the immediate paint. Or frankly, with PJ Washington as the passer instead of Luka. Here's Edwards. Beautiful fake on the shot. Goes to the flip. He had Gobert maybe for a dunk. Gets it back. And I thought he got hit on the arm there.
It looked to me like he did.
Luka throws it to Hardy. A little out of his grasp, but he gets it. Hardy going to try Anderson one-on-one. Don't recommend this. That was a better result than I expected, but he still missed it. Here's Reid trying to get run down by Green. Reid, I guess they hit the ball there. Here come the Mavs right back. Gobert never came into the front court. And now Luka. Luka not pleased with Anderson. Luka has been very upset about a number of things here early. I didn't see a ton there from Kyle Anderson personally. Yeah, he gave him a little chuck. Anderson is kind of trying to get through him to go to his man.
Fortunately, both of them did not accelerate the conflict.
Or what is it? It dissipated immediately? It didn't really dissipate immediately.
What did we think of Lively as a prospect? Neither Nate nor I scouted him as a prospect. We didn't quite get to him.
Yeah, I thought he had some good potential, though, based on what little I knew of him.
And I saw Lively at the 2022 Hoop Summit, and I liked him there. I thought that he showed some signs, and the story that I've told is that I actually thought he looked terrible in the drills the first day. And then as soon as he got to the scrimmages, I'm like, oh, this guy can play. I think it was him and Kyle Ware, who were the two primary bigs for the U.S. that year. And at first I'm like, yeah, I know that. Then I'm like, oh, Lively can play from that. But I didn't watch any film from him in Duke. Incidentally, I actually did. I was just doing some Zach Edey film, and I watched the game that Edey played against Lively at Duke, and that was really interesting. But we'll save that for a different time.
Wow, dude, you're going hard on the draft film this year.
Yeah, it happens. It was also because Edey didn't play that many games against NBA caliber bigs, and I'm like, well, there's one against an NBA caliber big. Let's watch that. Guesses on Dwight Powell's plus minus low.
Yeah, what is it right now? Like -8 or something?
-4 in 3 minutes. Feels like -8.
Yeah, we got to ask what a reasonable minute total is for Gafford. I'd say 30.
32 is probably about as far as I'd push it.
I mean, maybe I think the way you have to do it is play him 3 minutes. Like you play him the first 4 minutes before the TV timeout, then bring in Powell for like 1 minute, and then get the TV timeout, and then bring back in Gafford.
I like it. I just one of the days I Googled Daniel Gafford asthma. He does not have asthma. But he just doesn't have great stamina. Because JaVale McGee does, and I think there are a few other centers that either like it's speculated or that do. But I always thought that was fascinating with JaVale. And Nate, we wondered, I posited the idea, and you said the Wolves, which I would agree with, at the first break of who has the run of play. Since that, it's 10-0 Minnesota Timberwolves. So, yeah. Let's see if there's anything interesting in the cleaning the glass splits. I mean, Dallas having a 50 offensive rating and a 25 first shot half-court offense rating. Of course, we're dealing with a small sample right here. But Dallas, 1 shot in the restricted area, 5 from the upper paint, 1 of 5 there, and then 1 of 5 from mid-range. And these have almost all been well-contested shots. Like, their shot mix is not healthy in this game, which it has been for most of the series. Oh, per Tim Cato, Maxi Kleber coming in the game. Here we go.
All right. So is he going to be playing the 5 or the 4?
He's the 5 because it's because I mean, unless they have somebody taller, not on. Yeah, so he's playing. It's Luka, Green, Hardy, Kleber, Derek Jones Jr.
Well, noteworthy that he's coming in, I think, when Gobert comes out.
Yes.
So he's in theory a better fit against the Towns Reed grouping.
I mean, I kind of like him as theoretically stretching out Gobert, but it's a good place to try him.
Yeah, I mean, he's not going to have to fight as much in the post. But yeah, I hope he's looking good because he would make for a much more interesting finals at a minimum. Here's a nice little step up by Anderson. Here's Edwards going right at Kleber to test him out for the first time. And I'm not sure which Mav committed the foul.
And that was much more aggressive switching from the Mavericks as soon as Maxi Kleber checked in. Not a huge surprise.
But even then, it was a nice play by Anderson, not going to shoot that ball from the corner. Instead, he catches it, immediately looks to set that little step-up handoff for Edwards. So there was a little separation between Edwards and Kleber as he turns the corner and he's able to get downhill. Minnesota in control here early, up 10. Couple of screens being set for Doncic with the 2 bigs. Anderson goes down. Doncic wants it back against Towns. They'll re-switch. Luka didn't go fast enough and let him change back. Here's Doncic on the drive. The Kleber in the dunker spot. Doncic has to take an impossible fader that actually got close in the end. Now here comes Minnesota. Conley is on the bench. Alexander Walker is in. 2 screens for Edwards. Gets right to Luka and shoots over him easily.
It's striking to me that Dallas couldn't even get a good shot when Kyle Anderson fell down on the possession.
Yeah, I mean, Dallas's offense, this is as bad if we've seen it in these playoffs. Hardy fell down that time, but Nobody was there to bother him. Again, they're late in the clock before any attack occurs, and Doncic is going to draw the derogure foul on Karl-Anthony Towns.
But that is only Towns' first. It's the Timberwolves' fourth team foul.
Yeah, but given how late in the clock they are there, bailing him out, not amazing. So
Yes.
Edwards, what is he up to already in terms of points? So
Edwards
got to be in double digits already.
He
right?
is 13 points, 4 of 7 from the field, 4 of 6 from the line.
Yeah, this has been his best quarter. And here's Irving returning with Doncic out. He sets up Hardy wide open for three, and he drains it. That's a big shot there to quell this Minnesota momentum. I think Irving can be pretty effective getting into the teeth of this Wolves group. Here's Towns going right into Kleber, and an offensive foul. That's his second. Ooh. That's very interesting. So he doesn't fall down. Oh, that's a defensive foul. They got to challenge this. Oh, they didn't. Mavs did a good job of getting it in quickly. Now they're in zone. Green open for three in the corner, and that's good. Yeah, I don't love zone against this Dallas group. I think you can guard them man-to-man. They only have one creator out there. Here's Reed on the drive. His lefty floater is good. Naz Reed's left hand, that's been a big... He and Towns both have gotten a lot better going left.
And particularly because this Mavs group doesn't have the vertical spacing with, like Hardy's been really good finding the bigs, but Kleber is just a different type of offensive player.
And Kleber is going to get his own illegal screen call there. Alexander Walker, I'm not sure exactly what gets hit there. Ooh. I guess he stepped on Kleber's foot. Yeah, they tried to get into that handback game between Kleber and Irving, and they had him beat, but Kleber then commits the illegal screen. Edwards going to work with Reed here. Edwards, he blows by Green again, and Green's going to foul him. That Josh Green cannot stay in front of Anthony Edwards.
It's surprising. Jason Kidd is he's been pretty good in these playoffs at understanding which matchups are tenable and untenable, but that one he's leaning on to me a little too heavily. It might be because they don't have that many other options, but I think they have enough. I mean, Derek Jones Jr. is on the floor.
Well, Josh Green is on Naz Reed.
Yeah.
But they switched. And I don't think they want to not switch that and give up a pick and pop three to Reed. So this is interesting. Is this Towns? Yeah, I think they took Towns out here as Edwards misses another free throw. So they're going Reed at center. He's played very little center this year. He'll be next to Anderson, and then they got three smalls. But this could maybe be a switching group. Let's see. Alexander Walker on Irving. Irving goes right to work. Left it short, tipped out by Green, but Alexander Walker saved it. He's looking a little gimpy after that ankle turn.
And that was too late for the 2-for-1. If that's
I was surprised he was that aggressive. It wasn't a terrible look, but so Edwards now guarded by Irving. They've got Jones Jr. on Reed. Here's Edwards getting to his spot again. Guns the pass, intercepted by Green. Are they going to give up another one here at the end of the quarter? They are. A foul. Another atrocious Edwards turnover at the end of the quarter. Just those are such absolute killers when you should get the last shot of the quarter.
And that's part of the reason, I argue that teams should go earlier, but go earlier without throwing the ball to the other team. And so Josh Green chance to cut this to 7 at the line. And I mean, Minnesota's still going to have an advantage here, but you never know, especially in this series, when these late quarter points are going to rear their head.
All right, can they get Gafford in to commit a foul here as the Mavs?
Oh, good Lord. I like how one of the quarters Minnesota didn't screw up. The end of it was Dallas did. What do you make of Luka coming out at the under 6 timeout in the last few games? Kids trying something different. I haven't particularly noticed too much of a difference in like basically when you switch the Luka minutes and the Kyrie minutes personally, it's maybe that Luka is feeling a little bit tired. Coaches often lean there. There were a couple stretches in the OKC series where the end of the third quarter, like kind of that same stretch, but in the third rather than the first, went really really well for the Mavericks. There were a couple of the Kyrie led runs during that stretch, so maybe that's a part of the idea is can get a little bit of that flow in those minutes.
Well, there's a couple other too. I mean, I think it was just Luka with his injury that they felt like he couldn't go as long, and also you just by changing that up, you just fuck with the opposing team's planning a little bit for what their rotation is going to be.
Sure.
Like there's kind of no reason not to just be a little more random about that because they're coming in with a plan of how they want to run their rotation, largely based on having the right defender in for Luka, right? Like you might say, oh, we're going to try to match up Gobert's minutes more with Luka, or you could say we're going to try to match up McDaniels more with Luka. And so uh, to kind of be, you have the first mover advantage there, you might as well use it.
Jay said, considering games 5 and 7 in Minnesota, if the Wolves win tonight, what would you put the probability of winning the series? It's still extremely low. Winning 3 games in a row is a lot to ask, even if 2 of those are at home. And just as a point of reference, if you said, and I'm not saying this is true, if you said Minnesota was a 60% favorite in all 3 of the games, it's easier kind of math-wise to do it that way, then they would have a 21.8% chance of winning the series, just because even a 60%
That's after they win today, right?
If they won today.
Yeah.
And so I would have it significantly lower than that. Lively's potential absence is a concern because that's that changes the availability, and then you have injury potentiality, but that's for both teams. Like you could have any number of things. Hopefully they don't happen, but any number of things could happen. But yeah, it's well below 20%. I mean, I'd say I'm not great at putting numbers on this, but it'd be like I think it'd be 10% or less.
This is interesting. Dallas shot 28% from the field. They're 2 of 11 from 2 and 4 of 10 from 3. Wolves are 9 of 12 from 2 and have only hit 1 3. They're 1 out of 4.
Minnesota's twos have also been a lot cleaner looks than Dallas's twos have been. Not only some of the stuff around the basket, but yeah. How are you guys picking out the prospects you scout this year? It's Nate's choice. He can ask me if he wants.
I mean, we kind of do the consensus top 10. I mean, once we get down past like, the consensus like top 5 or 6, we'll kind of put our heads together and decide what, like, if there's anyone that's particularly intriguing or not intriguing. Like, generally, we'll go more towards like the higher upside guys.
Yeah. There is one player that I'm going to make sure that we do but I think he's in the range that we would do anyway, just because as I was watching him, I'm like, I really want to know what Nate thinks of this guy. And I will reveal who that is when we record on them. But Nate and I don't talk about prospects at all before we record those podcasts.
Alexander Walker in and out as they went under on him. Right back to Anderson, and Conley hits the Wolves' second 3 of the game to put him back up 10. All right, over under, Danny, for this Dante Exum. He played 1 minute in the last game.
Over that. I think he'll play about 3.
Well, I think it depends how well things go here. Irving stuck against the sideline. Alexander Walker could have chested him up a little bit more there. Irving now working against Reed. Another mishandle by Irving. Gets it back, 5 to shoot. Off the ball, Green missed it. That was a late double by Conley to force it into Green's hand, and Green still had to rush it. Reed hasn't done much in terms of attacking other than that one lefty layup. Anderson, 4-5 pick and roll, back to Reed. Reed blows by Washington. Faked the pass, but Gafford was there to disrupt. Now Irving has Anderson on his back over Gobert. What a finish.
Kyrie Irving just having those kinds of plays. He had that the lefty shot was that last game. It's just like you just get pull things out.
I mean, I talked about it on the pod how that's such a good counter because teams have taken away his right hand for years. There's the fake DHO by Reed and Exum, beautiful defense there to take away that hammer pass to the corner. Now it's Washington in transition. Goes at Gobert, passes too high for Exum. Exum has to throw it up, but Conley is going to get a little push on him, and that's a cheap one that Mike Conley can ill afford.
It's a nice little sell from Dante Exum where you force the referee to make a decision because you don't necessarily want to have them call that out of bounds on the offensive team when he got pushed, even if the push wasn't too hard.
Yeah, that's when Gobert maybe could have contested that with his right hand to get a better angle on it. They force Irving left. Good defense there by Alexander Walker and Gobert not to give that up. Here's Exum on the drive again. He's going to have to shoot his difficult lefty floater, and that goes in. They should just shoot every shot left-handed.
Give
Didn't
that man
work for
3
Alexander
minutes
Walker
or
last
more.
game, though. And now Gobert has been called for a foul. He's saying that Gafford clamped him, but I would not recommend a challenge here.
Oh, you wouldn't recommend a challenge on a loose ball foul?
I guess it's, I don't know if it's a loose ball foul. I don't know what that would be called exactly. Yeah, let's see it. Yep, yeah, he puts two hands on his shoulder. I can see why that was called. Anderson switching on to Irving. Now they want to go at Conley. Exum moving without the ball. They ran that play for him, and he's made 2 in a row. Man, if he can get back into the mix, that would be massive for Dallas going forward. 7-0 Dallas run with Doncic on the bench. Meanwhile, this Wolves group with no Edwards, no Towns, has had mixed success throughout the series. I know a lot of people have thought that that's like an insane group to have out there. I don't know if I agree with that, but certainly got smoked that time.
Well, my concern with that has not necessarily been no Edwards, no Towns. It's having Gobert and Anderson on the floor with insufficient spacing around them. So, I mean, this group has Anderson, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, and Gobert. So there's just a lot of places to compress. And we saw that on the pass that was deflected. I think, was that Exum who deflected the pass? There were just too many guys around the basket.
Yeah, you're talking about the baseline pass.
The baseline pass, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, another reason that you would say it's okay to have Edwards and Towns on the bench is you want to get Naz Reid some reps, but he's been ineffective in this stint.
Can Exum defend Brown or Tatum? I think he could do a better job on Tatum than Brown because Brown, he does a nice job of just kind of going, and Jaylen Brown is a lot bigger than Dante Exum is.
Yeah,
but
I don't know the answer to that. Of like where Exum is at from like a strength standpoint. I would be curious to know how that went. I hope
we get to see it should that series happen.
Because I do think I think you would have a better chance than Hardy.
Agreed.
Well, if they can get some more minutes out of Exum too, then and they're not feeling great about Kleber, then maybe that could be another way to get a few more minutes out of Washington at the 5. Although I wonder how many minutes they've played with Washington at the 5. I'm gonna look that up. I'm gonna go with the shorthand here. Just put him at center in the cleaning the glass definitions because sometimes I just do it with everyone that I consider to be a center off the floor.
Yeah.
Because rather than just putting him in at center, because sometimes they'll have
they'll define it differently.
Classified differently than the way I personally would, but
that is how
we'll
I do
go
it
for
well.
the shorthand here. Let's see what we got. They've played 28 possessions with PJ Washington at center, and they are plus 35 net rating. That is with that was in the regular season. I don't know if that includes postseason or not.
I think cleaning the glass does splits, and they haven't done it very much in the playoffs so far. It's a teeny bit, I believe. And so it's only been 2 minutes and 17 seconds so far. Like, will we see Minnesota have any sort of response? Will they try to bring back players? Because
Edwards having to come back would suck for them, but
I wouldn't surprise me if it happens. But he's played a lot of minutes, and if they're having him defend Luka too, that's burning the candles on both ends even more than guarding Kyrie.
Yeah, the other thing too about like starting this with no Towns is like, yeah, this is going to be Naz Reid in here, right? Because it's time for Gobert to come back in, and so if you're going to put Towns in, then you're taking Reid out.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the other thing that makes it tough, Danny, is what you noted is you're going with Anderson and Gobert, and Luka is not on the floor. I think John pointed this out today as Anderson's going to get past Exum, and he's stopped by Gafford, who tracked back beautifully, still loose. Gobert kept it loose, now on the floor, and who has it? It's going to be a jump ball, but between who?
But who's in the jump? Let's see how they...
Washington and Gafford are going to jump it up.
Okay. Took me a second.
They both appeared to have it, though. So Edwards has returned. That was the adjustment from Chris Finch.
Someday they'll figure out a way to do it. They'll have it be a 3-person jump ball, and I'll just have fun with that.
Yeah, but that's if you want to talk about why that lineup doesn't make sense, you're on it. Is Gobert and Anderson together without Luka on the floor? John was talking about this, that Anderson's probably been their best Luka defender, but why put Anderson out there at all? If Luka's off the floor, you shouldn't be fucking around with Anderson at all. Then you also got Conley out there too. Like the other point of Anderson is to kind of be like a secondary ball handler, but you got Conley and Edwards out there now too. So it really, this doesn't make any sense, this group at all to me.
Well, and also like having Kyle Anderson defend Kyrie, like that's not the area where his strength lies.
So they went to the pick and pop with Washington, not something they've done a ton of in the series, but with Luka out, that can unlock maybe his secondary scoring, and he's able to get into the lane. I didn't see a ton of contact there, but perhaps a closer look would reveal it. Who's that foul on?
Anthony Edwards. But that's his second. I thought it was his first. Yeah. It's his second.
Yeah, he
the one on Luka. One. That's right.
So now Washington has made it a 9-0 run. He's struggled from the foul line, but hits those two. I think those might even be some of his first free throws since the big game against OKC. So 9-0 run in 139. And now Conley, he certainly heard the footsteps from Gafford after Gafford's block at the end of game 3, but he went a little higher off the board that time.
Yeah, Gafford was a little bit late there considering Conley's left-handed, and he knows that, obviously.
Exum, and that's going to be a moving screen on Irving. Conley drew it.
And Dante Exum is at 3 minutes now.
And Luka will replace Josh Green. They're going to leave Exum in the game. This is Exum, Irving, and Doncic was a combination that was one of their best throughout the season, in particular before the trade deadline. Flare screen for Towns. He's going to go right in and try to poke it on Gafford, and that was not going to work. Here's Doncic on the push. He's got Washington open. Exum back to Washington, and Doncic wide open. Towns finally made it back after getting his dunk blocked, but now he's in the Luka torture chamber. Luka fading away into the corner. Great closeout by Gobert. Mavs have the blender whirling, but Exum missed the 3. That was pretty damn good defense by Minnesota as Dallas had them flying around.
I'm convinced Towns would have committed a foul if Luka had taken that shot.
And Edwards against the drop coverage bangs a 3. Minnesota now with 5 quick points. McDaniels cutting off Irving. He'll go back to his left. Pass deflected out to Doncic. Doncic getting past Edwards. Tries to draw the foul. Corner. Irving wasn't ready to shoot. Now Exum into the corner. Washington. This is beautiful offense by the Mavs, but Washington can't cash out. Luka could have taken that too. Or also, to be more exact, Conley rescreen with Gobert. He'll Nash along the baseline. McDaniels making the decision and drives along the baseline to pick up a foul. I think this will be non-shooting, though.
I believe it's non-shooting, but it is on Kyrie Irving in his second.
Yeah, Mavs, that is the one thing that Exum does give this group, is just a little bit more ball movement and decision-making. And now he's going to be out. So they come back with Kleber at center along with the other 4 starters. And another foul. Is this a defensive 3
3
seconds on
seconds
Luka?
on Kleber.
Kleber.
He was guarding Gobert, and he was not particularly close to Gobert. The stats on the Luka, Exum, Kyrie, 390 cleaning the glass possessions in the regular season, plus 24 net rating, 132.6 offensive rating.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to criticize much about Jason Kidd's coaching, and Hardy has been pretty good. He's probably outplayed Exum, but also Exum, I mean, what is the most minutes he's played? Like 8? Like, I do think they maybe could have tried to give him a little bit more, and we'll see whether that becomes necessary in the Boston series. Edwards going to get into that 4-5 pick and roll. A lot of switching here by the Mavs. He's double teamed. Didn't get off the ball fast enough there. There's no advantage. They try to post up Gobert. This is not an advantage matchup. This is going to go poorly, and he leads to a shot clock violation. But that's the problem there, is that Anthony Edwards, they were switching. Then they put 2 on the ball. He's got to move that immediately. And by the time he did, everyone was back in order already. Doncic being forced left. Rescreen. They go under. He'll fire the 3 on the move going right. Off the heel. Tip to Jones. His tap to Luka. And that one's good from Luka. So Luka, a couple of 3-pointers. He actually had a number of deadly ones. Remember at the end of game 1 as well. Deadly 3s off of offensive rebounds. Now Gobert. Stopped by Kleber. Kleber's just a rock of a post defender, man. Here's Conley. He finds Gobert. Kleber hit him on the arm there.
I agree with that call. He was late.
Yeah, I thought he jumped. At a minimum, he jumps forward into him. Yeah, so here's this rebound by Jones Jr. Just he uses that huge wingspan to tip it right to Luka. That was a great play.
And I like that they gave Derek Jones Jr. an assist on that. That was a deliberate hit.
I
think so.
Yeah.
I'm good with that.
The home cooking is certainly going to fire that up for you.
It was deliberate enough. Rudy Gobert free throws can sometimes be an adventure, but not as much an adventure for me as Rudy Gobert post-ups or like some of the other stuff.
Yes, perhaps not the adventure that Chris Finch would choose on his own.
It's also not a choose your own adventure book I would read.
A couple of free throws though for Gobert. Minnesota back to a 6-point advantage. They have to hedge at half court there. Kleber being guarded by Gobert. He hasn't taken a 3 yet. Gobert did well to run him off the line. Luka getting to his spot. Well short. Rebound again. And it just curls out, though. See, I don't understand this, though. Like, why does Edwards have to run back and, like, be handed the ball like he's a running back? Like, get up the floor. Edwards misses that. It goes right to Conley. He almost blew that. But with the defender, Kleber, way out on the floor, there's nobody there to rebound. Now Irving blitzed. Washington, Gobert coming over. They move it. Kleber, he'll drive it. He finishes. Nice play there by Maxi Kleber. That right shoulder looking okay on that finish.
Yeah, and still moving well, which is also, I mean, it's a shoulder injury, but you always wonder what a guy's conditioning is going to be like when they've missed that.
Luka tired. He's guarding Conley right now. Conley blows by Washington high off the glass. And again, the Wolves taking advantage of the lack of rim protection. They've been able to get tons of penetration, setting more screens high out on the floor. Towns took forever to get back into his man. Dallas didn't take advantage of that. Here's Irving. Oh, yes, he beat McDaniels. He just continued to string out Conley. And if I'm Mike Conley, I'm staying there. I am not leaving until you know for sure that he's stopped. Because I was trying to see what was going on here. But for Mike Conley, like, he's guarding Derek Jones Jr. Kyrie wants to, like, throw it back out to Derek Jones Jr. at the arc. Like, we can rotate through that. Like, they're doing a good job of flying around defensively. You got to stay there until, I would say, number one, you actually got to cut Irving off better. So he can't turn the corner as far as he did. But once he's engaged, you can't leave until McDaniels is back in good order. Ugh. Yeah, you see Lively like bring his neck back, and like that clearly didn't feel very good. Yeah, this report now just saying that he could potentially play next game. Gobert getting another rest here. Reed is back in. McDaniels on the drive. He goes right into Towns, though. Kleber trying to hound him. And Towns actually could have cut back door there for a dunk. He just missed it. Now Edwards behind his back. Got great separation off the heel of the rim, though. Here's Doncic backing in on Edwards. Kicks out. Doncic's been very aggressive with the pass. And there you see, again, Derrick Jones Jr. paying off his faith. Back down to 6 for Dallas. Or, sorry, back down to 3 for Dallas. Now Edwards going to come off the screens from 2 of the bigs. He's got Green in his sights. That's who he's tried to go after. He's going to just back out. Green tries to pressure him. Gets into the lane again. Edwards setting up Reed for 3. That was a pretty good pass. And that's Towns' third on an absolutely idiotic foul. Unbelievably stupid.
No hoper offensive rebound. You're clearly not in position. And for Towns, I mean, even if you got that perfectly,
it's just
they're
insane.
Still probably going to call you for the foul.
Like, it's one thing if it's like, oh, the ball's like within reach. I think I can go jump over and get it without fouling. He's got his hand like pushing his shoulder down. He's got to reach over him. He hits him with the other hand too. I mean, the ball's like 5 feet in front of him. What the hell is he doing?
It is truly incredible that Karl-Anthony Towns does not have the stupidest foul in this series.
Doncic setting up Jones Jr. beautifully. That guy is just a master.
And Nate, after all this, Minnesota, I think, has overall outplayed Dallas. It's tied with 4 minutes to go in this first half.
Yeah, this group with Kleber at center has been a different look. And we're going to get a little chuck here. I didn't see a ton there.
It's only the 3rd team foul on the Mavs. Looks like it was called on PJ Washington. And that will be his 2nd.
And Doncic, I mean, Mike Conley is one of the smartest players in basketball, and Luka Doncic just toyed with him twice in a row on that backside. Double team on Edwards. Reed looking to attack as they short it. Now it's McDaniels wide open. That was the right pass. See, that's the kind of play you can actually go for, trying to tip it over a guy's back. Edwards left it exceedingly short. He'll pick up Doncic in transition. And there's a terrible 3rd foul on Edwards.
What is that nonsense?
No, here's what happened, Danny. That was the Westbrook foul. He was on tilt because he thought he got fouled. And then he's like, oh, what, you're not going to call anything? Well, I'm going to reach in now. Like, no, it's like you see that happen all the time. Guys will think they got fouled on one end and then commit a stupid foul reaching in immediately.
It's a great point. And I put it in my notes. So this is a chance to put Dallas in the lead. Let me look at the last time they had the lead was. Oh, was it really that early?
Looks like it was. I mean, Minnesota was up right at the beginning. So they're going to sit Edwards and Towns here with 3:35 remaining. And it was an interesting wrinkle to try to put Edwards on Luka. And because Edwards has picked up, I mean, so what? Probably two of his 3 fouls have just been terrible decisions. I'm trying to remember the first one. I remember.
Oh, that was the reach from behind. It was the right arm.
Here's McDaniels across the lane, well contested by Jones Jr. McDaniels maybe can give him some more offense, but now with Anderson in the game, they've also got Conley out too. And looks like Jones Jr. Ankle. Not too bad there. Looks like a tweak. Hopefully he can continue through.
And this is even more damaging because it's both Towns and Edwards together. Ostensibly, though not in this series, Minnesota's 2 best offensive players. And in part because you pretty much, if one of them was out, you could, like, if Towns was out, you could replace it with Naz Reid, and the margin there is tighter. But if you have to also have Edwards, you lose creation. And this is also with Conley out. Conley's not in foul trouble, but he's at 16 minutes. I would have him in the game here, unless it's some sort of thing like they're.
Well, I think they're waiting till the under 3, and they'll probably get him back in. That's probably the thinking. Yeah, big hand for Kleber as he departs. Really fantastic to see him back on the floor. One of the most underrated players in basketball.
+7 in 7 minutes of action. Just like Dwight Powell.
I still go back to KP making a massive restricted free agent offer for Maxi Kleber as the New Orleans Pelicans in one of the mock-off seasons. That could have changed a lot of things. There's Alexander Walker open. Nice play. And Alexander Walker finally gets off the schneid with his three-pointer to tie it at 45. That was a nice little play there, setting a couple of screens. They help off that corner, and Alexander Walker is open. Luka getting Anderson on his back, picks it up. Anderson blocked a Luka step back in game 3. And now Luka goes through Gobert, and Gobert picks up an asinine foul. These have just been atrocious fouls by the Minnesota Timberwolves. The biggest reason why Dallas is back in it, and here is that under 3 timeout.
And that is Gobert's third as well. Oh, boy. And so after a challenging start for Dallas, a good start for Minnesota in terms of offensive process and everything else, it is now tied and 25-18 so far in the second quarter. Are these legit fouls? Yes, absolutely. All 3 of these have been like, so Towns third, Edwards third, Gobert's third, all were correctly called fouls. I'm not going to say every foul in the game was correctly called, but generally speaking, I think this crew has done a good job. How do you think Slow-Mo has defended Luka in the series? I think he's done well. And Edwards, he has good length, he has good strength, and he's patient, so you can't really he doesn't necessarily get to commit some of the anticipation fouls. He also has good hands, so he can pester. And you're not going to steal it from Luka very much. You're not going to block his shot too much, but you can do those other things well. So yeah, I think he's done well. And the Anderson, if he were a little bit more comfortable with the shot, I mean, you could make an argument that he should absolutely be a part of their starting closing fives. Now, I'm not a big proponent, as much as I love Kyle Anderson, of having him replace Gobert in the closing fives. That was a controversy, and I believe that was game 3. But I think that there is a place for him, a pretty clear one for him. And a point that Nate brought up earlier, I've long referred to this as the Andre Iguodala problem. And this goes back to when Steve Kerr used to bring Iguodala off the bench. When you have your best perimeter defender, specifically the guy who does the best job defending the other team's offensive focal point, you pretty much need to start them, because if you don't start them, it staggers their minutes too much from that player. And so for Chris Finch doesn't have that same kind of possibility. Maybe you try Edwards just in those little stints, and then you basically try to avoid the matchup at other times. But what the Anderson minutes when Luka Doncic is not on the floor are a waste. And so you have to be pretty proactive about it. And that's, so yeah, going back to Kerr, that was, more part of the reason why Kerr shifting Iguodala into the starting lineup in the 2015 finals was so important. It wasn't all just because Iguodala was like one of their 5 best players, everything like that. It was to remove some of the least useful minutes.
Yeah. And the other thing too was spacing out Mozgov, obviously, was huge. Like, they're really struggling to score at the basket. So yeah, so big theme, I would say, of this first half has been Wolves' mistakes, turnovers, and fouls.
Yes, completely true. And when you consider all the stuff that was going well for them early, and I like to try to draw a distinction between forced and unforced errors, and there have been an uncomfortably large amount of lightly forced or unforced errors from Minnesota so far, particularly in the third quarter.
So this will be a fascinating end to the quarter. I assume it will transpire in the absence of Karl Anthony Towns and Anthony Edwards. I assume, again, that Conley will return here. But yeah, playing him 19 minutes in the first half is not something you love to do. You could also kind of try to do the, play for the scoreless tie approach. But then
That's
they're
hard.
going to have
That's
Gobert
hard.
on
That's
their
hard to
bench
do against
too.
them.
Yeah, I guess you can't really go. So this is, I guess Conley will probably be their fifth guy here.
He is.
Other than the ones we see. Yeah, so I mean, the Wolves should be able to score pretty well again. I mean, you have McDaniels, Anderson, and Alexander Walker all on the floor. Minnesota is not, if Minnesota's down 10 here, I might consider playing these guys with 3 fouls. Or if, things start to fall apart, I might go that route too. Jones trying to pressure up Conley. This is a big ask for him. Reed will have to be their other scorer. Reed looking to post up. Conley, they run the play for him. Anderson sets the screen. Anderson gets the rebound. Conley will drive again. They move it. Good rotation by Doncic. Here's Anderson on a go and catch out of the corner, and he hooks over Gafford. Nice play. Tied at 47, 2:07 left in the half. They've got Anderson on Gafford, so they can switch that. Doncic goes away from the screen. Almost committed an offensive foul with his off arm. Almost traveled. Reed can't get the rebound. He is not a good defensive rebounder. That's a spot where this group could struggle. Now Gafford will set it. Good switch by the Wolves, or actually they did not switch. Good communication. Now Irving forced left. Alexander Walker knocked it off his leg. No, the Wolves can't believe it.
But there's
I'll
only
challenge it then. Challenge it then. Though there's 0.4 on the shot clock, so never mind. Yeah, no reason to. Yeah, so let's see how the Wolves are going to commit this foul. They're going to try to lob it in. They throw it up, and that'll do it for the shot clock. That's the right play there. Just throw it up there and hope that he can tap it.
And we're not all the way through it, but these minutes are going better for Minnesota than I feared.
Conley will bring it up. He still has such good quickness for a guy his age. Right? Like if you imagine Chris Paul trying to bring that up, here's now McDaniels changes sides of the floor to Conley. Conley on the hesitation. Jones Jr. almost forced him to travel, and now he is going to foul him. That's a good call there because he fouled him initially and then was just continuing to bump him as he was trying to pivot. And that was an amazing job by Conley not traveling there, too. He with that level of contact.
Conley has good footwork, and Jones Jr. is bad about it, but he was riding Conley that entire time. That is a clear defensive foul.
I mean, I've loved what Conley's been able to give them offensively in this series. It's really been impressive. That just the level of athleticism, change of pace that he's shown that he still has. When of course, making it for him to just make it through a regular season. We haven't seen this level of stuff from him generally, but they've needed it in this series, and he's been able to provide it.
May we all have the longevity of the parents who are Olympians.
Yeah, it was noted in the comments, I'd completely forgotten that he had that soleus injury. There's Doncic off the screen, gets Anderson in the air, goes through 2 guys. Beautiful left-handed pass out to Irving, but he misses. I would be more aggressive trying to finish, especially against this group as Doncic. I think as Alexander Walker throws an atrocious pass. Actually, Naz Reid, he taps his chest. He thought that, I guess Alexander Walker thought Reid was going to cut to the basket. Maybe Reid was just being nice. Now Irving getting past Alexander Walker, and a huge cram by Gafford along the baseline. Tied at 49. Wolves can go for the 2-for-1. Jones Jr. trying to deny Conley, so he tells Anderson to get into the action. Reed, handoff Alexander Walker. Down to 38, they got to go here. Alexander Walker not getting the separation, has to kick out. Anderson not a threat from there. They are not going to get the 2-for-1. Anderson can't laser in that jumper. Good contest by Gafford that time, and only a 4-second differential. No one better out there to run the time down than Luka. Let's see if they send help here. Down to 6. Doncic into the lane, and an offensive foul on Luka. Used the off arm, they say. So Doncic with a bad turnover in the last shot situation, and now the Wolves can do what's been done to them so often and score.
Jason Tatum is in a cold sweat thinking about the possibility that's going to get called in the finals.
It got called on him last night.
It did.
They'll take out Luka for defensive purposes. Conley against Jones Jr. down to 6. Reed will set the screen. They don't switch it. Now they do. Here's Conley getting past Washington. I thought he got fouled from behind there.
He did. No call.
Doncic immediately goes to Ed Beloy to complain about that last call. We'll be back in about 13 minutes. All right, back to work here in the third, and number of interesting trends from the first half. The Mavs 2-point shooting was pretty bad, but the Wolves' mistakes kind of kept them in it with the 3 fouls on Gobert, Towns, and Edwards, and of course the turnovers. They try to get Towns going immediately here. He's going to try to go in and finish on Gafford beautifully. He thought he got fouled, but Minnesota strikes first here in the third.
And that was Towns attacking aggressively with Gafford as the help defender, but then Gafford attacks his own way, gets that pass for a dunk.
Yeah, Gobert not able to stop that 2-on-1 between Washington and Gafford. There's Conley kicking out. McDaniels, good swipe by Irving. McDaniels tries to go through him, but can't score. Now Luka, nobody picks him up. He'll leave it
just
for Gafford. Yeah, I mean, he's been passing up a lot of shots at the rim. I mean, it seemed like a pretty easy layup, and all right, I mean, they scored in the end, but he has just not been shooting at the basket at all. Here's Edwards downhill against Gafford. Luka coming over nicely. That leaves Conley open. Late rotation from Jones. Hurried it a bit. And Luka thought he got fouled. Could have been Gobert's fourth, but it's just Dallas ball.
That didn't look like a foul to me, but it did slow down Dallas's transition attack. By the way, Dallas had a 180, I think, a 186 offensive rating in transition in the first half.
Yeah, the half court was not profitable for them. Here's Doncic into the lane, and that one is good, but we're going to stay here. It's going to be a pushing foul, it appears, on Gafford after the shot goes down. So really of no consequence other than the foul on Gafford and the team foul on the Wolves.
That is Gafford's second personal. But since the shot was already in the air, you don't take the shot off the board.
Dallas by 4 here. Edwards rejects the screen, goes into 2 guys, kicks it out. McDaniels, big 3, late close from Luka, and McDaniels hits it. That was the right pass from Edwards with the lane quite crowded. Now Luka off the screen. Edwards trying to stay behind him. Luka goes around 2 guys. I mean, that's way too easy. And Edwards looks tired to me, so he didn't compete to stay on Luka's backside. Gobert kind of stepped out, but then Luka just goes around him easily. Maybe he's worried about picking up a foul. And so he goes past 2 guys, and then there's no one left to stop the alley-oop. Now Edwards on the attack. Goes at Gafford. Gafford contested well without fouling.
So Nate, Dallas had 10 points in the paint in the entire first half. I think they have 8 in the first 2 minutes of the third quarter.
And McDaniels gets the steal, leaves it back for Edwards. Edwards back to McDaniels, and he'll lay it in. That was actually pretty poor transition defense in the end from Dallas. Just not like they had plenty of time to eventually get back there, and they just assumed it was going to be a 3-on-1 and they'd score. Towns on the hedge. Washington pick and pop. They can get that shot literally anytime they want to. It's been a tough start to the quarter. I don't think we've had any free throws yet. Edwards getting to his spot, not even close on that floater. Luka giving it up to Washington. Now Irving hasn't really had many attacks. He's got Towns. Towns forces him right. Irving goes right. Gobert comes over. Nice pass to Gafford. He couldn't squeeze it as Conley came in from behind to knock it away. Now it's a 4-on-2. Edwards in the corner, eluding Washington, and he throws it almost into the stands. And
it should be off McDaniels.
I think that's what they're saying. Jones Jr., man, he's absorbed some blows below the belt in this series.
Because if you throw a ball like that and it bounces off both people, one of the people is standing out of bounds. So it hit McDaniels at some point when he was standing out of bounds.
Yeah, but Edwards really in his own head that time. Probably had the 3 to take, doesn't take it, gets to a mid-ranger, doesn't take that, and throws a terrible pass. Here's the same play they just ran, and they're going to get a layup here. The Spain pick and roll is completely destroyed. And now Jones and Gobert getting involved. I don't know if this counts as it immediately dissipating or not.
And there are a lot of people on the floor to count that as immediately dissipating. But
well, the altercation between Gobert and Jones thought that Gobert plowed into him. I mean, what is this like? I'm gonna walk over to you, show my hands, and then like smash my chest into you. That's so. I guess are they gonna take a look at this here?
They are. And so, Nate, Dallas had 10 total paint points, though that doesn't include free throws. In the first half, they were, I think it was 5 of 13 in the paint. And they now have 10 paint points on their first 10 points of the third quarter. Yeah, this is going to be a double tech. I mean, we know what it's going to be.
Yeah, it looks like Jones put something extra on a couple of times there, and it was a great screen. But they've beaten them on that Spain pick and roll twice, and they should be able to stop that with adequate communication because the Spain guy is Jones, and he's not a guy that you fear like popping out afterwards. So just a lack of communication there. Watch this. Jones sets the screen. Conley goes to the roller. But they've gotten two easy layups out of that. One was a dunk, one was a layup out of that same action that the Wolves have not had the communication to guard. And I'll credit Dallas too for being sneaky about setting it up so they couldn't call out the communication ahead of time.
And since we have a little bit of time, yes, what I'm wearing is partially a tribute to Bill Walton. It significantly is, though I don't need an excuse to represent my alma mater because I also went to UCLA. But Bill is the reason I'm wearing it today. Well, I don't even understand why this review has to be so long. Like there isn't much ambiguity on what the contact was.
All right, well, let's see what Scott Foster is going to have to say about it here in the end. So do you think there should be double text or should be nothing?
I think it should be nothing, but with the way the league calls this, it will be double text.
Yeah, and I think once you kind of break away from playing the game to go confront somebody, that's probably a tech. It could only be penalized as a technical foul. I mean, I would agree with that. Like he's coming over to him and like initiating non-basketball contact with him after the play. And that should be a technical foul. Like the reason that's a technical foul is because then if that's not a technical foul, like that's enough to cause anyone to respond. And so if you could do something to someone that's going to cause them to respond that isn't a technical foul, like that has to be a technical too.
Sure. It would create a pretty huge loophole.
A 7-2 size loophole. Now Conley going to get a double screen here. Gobert couldn't really make contact on it. Now they flare away. Towns going to try to go in and finish on Kleber, and he does. Good recognition there by Towns that Gafford was out of the game, and he could go at Kleber, who used to be a great rim protector. Now he's only okay. Now they try to run the Spain stuff again. Kleber is going to pop out.
He didn't even look at that shot.
Here's Luka stepping back, left it short. Towns on the rebound. Mavs again are back. Now it's Doncic on Edwards. You just go right now. Just go. Hard right hand drive. Didn't take it. Now it gave Kleber too much time to get over there waiting for him and recognize it. But they do get him in rotation, and that's going to be an offensive foul, of course. The challenge here, let's see it.
Left the right foot is set as the league calls.
Yeah, I mean that's oh man, he's so close to moving that right foot to it. He's like, I know I'm not allowed to move this, so I'm gonna almost sprain my ankle instead of actually moving it. Here's Irving going left, and he drains it. Irving has been quiet so far, but that three-pointer, they forced him left, but McDaniels couldn't stay with him. Nice screen set there. I think it was Kleber. Into the post, Towns guarded by Jones Jr. I like this attack, and Towns is going to score. They should milk the shit out of this now. And maybe that was just for that one possession with Washington not necessarily guarding, but even with Washington guarding him, I think that those Towns post-ups are now going to require a double team with Kleber, not a guy who's going to be that huge rim protector the way Gafford was. I actually thought they should have been doing more Towns post-ups this whole time, honestly. Like they were double teaming it a reasonable amount. So 3-point play for Minnesota. Irving going to work the Kleber screen. McDaniels won't let him use it, forces him left. Now Irving pulls up. Good contest by Gobert. Made him rush it slightly. Here come the Wolves in transition. Conley's on the right. Edwards doesn't see him. That was terrible. He still got him out there, but that was also terrible transition defense by Dallas. And, I mean, the difference when Gafford is not in there, even though Gafford isn't even as good as Lively, is massive. Luka off the screen. Now they get Washington rolling, and Kleber missed the three. Gobert didn't quite respect him. He kind of went with more of a Kornet contest to help out on the roll.
I think that's the right approach. Kleber has been reluctant. He's been turning down opportunities.
I agree. Yeah, make him hit a few. Here's Towns. Can he hit one? Yes! Finally! The lid is off the rim from three-point range for Towns, and Minnesota with their own 8-0 run. We've seen a lot of big 8-0, 10-0 runs in like a minute's time in this game.
And Karl-Anthony Towns has 10 points in the quarter so far.
Here's Jones Jr. Gobert is lurking, and that forced him to go to the floater instead of getting all the way to the rim. Minnesota looking to build on that 8-0 run now. 2 screens for Edwards. Finch is calling a lot of plays here, which I like. Edwards in the post. He should have the size advantage here against Jones, or at least a strength advantage. Goes around him, step through, and he's going to get him for a walk. He dragged that right foot, apparently.
And Brazel noted in the comments that, not sure if we heard, but in one of the sideline interviews, they talked about Kleber having discomfort when he shoots threes. I'm not surprised. AC joint sprain on your right side, that will lead to some challenges. But this has been a nice run by the Minnesota Timberwolves, a good response at the start of the third quarter, 17-13, but the 8-0 run here, and an aggressive Karl-Anthony Towns. Will Chris Finch continue to lean on him when he already has 4 fouls? But he's playing really well right now.
Well, he doesn't, as you always say, Danny, if you're not going to have a guy close the game, you might as well just let him get as many fouls as you want.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah, I mean, I like what Towns is doing right now. I like Finch staying with him. I think posting him up, he's less likely to get an offensive foul maybe as well. But I love.
I mean, he'll figure out a way to innovate it in time, but it may take him a little bit of work.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting, and maybe, I mean, Kleber could certainly guard Towns one-on-one in the post. So I think maybe my next approach would be put Washington on Gobert. Now, that doesn't necessarily help your rim production, right? Like, Kleber's got to get out there on Towns. He is still your best rim protector in this group. So I don't know if that's what I want either necessarily. It just is so much easier for Minnesota without Lively. It's insane. And that's why it was such a disaster that they didn't win that game 3. I think they really would have a totally decent chance in this series if they could have just pulled that one out.
Agreed.
But so it feels like anyone's game now. So obviously Dallas is going to win it at the end.
Yeah, was that Hollinger? I think Hollinger had in his piece today that Minnesota has led. Was that Minnesota? Or was that Minnesota's led at the 440 mark in the fourth quarter of every single game so far of the series?
That's right. Yeah,
it's unbelievable. I mean, that's one of the weird parallels between these two series is that like Indiana had fourth quarter leads in 3 of the 4 games as well, and lost.
Like late for. I mean, Dan wrote about it today.
Yeah,
that they had over an 80%. I mean, they had
over
90%, like 98% win expectancy in the 3 games.
And the only game they didn't was the one when Halliburton left the game midstream and the wheels fell all the way off the wagon.
Yeah. Catch up on a few of these stats here. Doncic, 21 points, 6 of 16. Irving only has 9 on 3 of 10. Luka has gotten to the line, though. Mavs don't have a ton of assists, only 13. And they've got 9 of 23 from downtown. Wolves are 6 of 15. They haven't taken a lot. They've really been trying to attack the rim more, and of course have succeeded in that when Gafford's been out of the game. Gafford has only gotten 17 minutes so far. And Towns actually 15 points, 6 of 7. You noted that 10 of those have come here in the third.
Yeah, in the first half, Towns was 2 of 3 from the field with 1 free throw attempt, and so he's already taken significantly more shots just in the third.
Yeah, and Mike Conley hasn't scored in this half, but he has already gotten 24 minutes, the same as Edwards, and he had 13 points in the first half with 6 assists and 4 steals. Sorry, yeah, I don't know how many that was in the first half, but he's got 4 steals now.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's also noteworthy this has probably been, as now they're in the zone, I think they're going to get Conley underneath Luka. Luka looking to post up Edwards. Not a ton of energy here. And they get it to Washington. Great closeout there by McDaniels, but Washington getting to his hook and missed it.
And the pump fake there from Washington, that was unnecessary and kind of, you're going to have to get downhill, but it was a great closeout by Jaden McDaniels.
Now it's Josh Green guarding Towns. They should just post up Towns here. They go to the 4-5 pick and roll. Like, I mean, like they're going to double team. Like that's what you get 2 on the ball and you play out of that. Like they're not going to let Josh Green go 1-on-1 against Towns just because Gafford is behind him. Now it looks like they're going to get Washington back onto Towns.
Even
Maybe
so, that's
up.
the third team foul on the Mavs.
Maybe they just changed up those matchups just because it was an ATO. Here's Conley across the screen. They try to go to that flare for Towns, and Towns, is that an offensive foul on Towns?
I think he elbowed Washington in the face.
Yeah, and Towns there, he had the drive, and instead he tried to step back, and then he tried to draw the foul. Oh, yeah, obvious offensive foul there on what was a BS pump fake. So there's his 5th.
Yeah, and it's outside. It's not a normal shooting motion or
that's
anything.
A great.
Like
I mean, whether it's a normal shooting motion or not, like he's stepping forward. Well, I mean, I shouldn't say whether it's a normal shooting motion or not. Like, it's not a normal shooting motion. So that's why it's a foul. I mean, Towns is trying to get them to challenge, and no, absolutely. He's saying I just went up straight. Oh, they are challenging it. This is stupid. I mean, I don't know. I've been wrong before, but I mean, he is pretty far. Like, he's not like going up like this. He's got the right elbow like way out there. And he's also stepping in, trying to draw the foul. Like that is look how his feet are. That's not a normal shooting.
So Nate, this is a flagrant review.
Hostile act.
It's a flagrant. Okay. Yeah, it's
all right. Well, no. It's not a hostile act.
No. And it's good for Minnesota that they have a backup who can fill largely the similar role and can do a good job. I mean, Naz Reid has played well in this series. Are we cheering for a longer series or 8 days off? With this series, a longer series. It's been fun. Sure, it's been competitive. It's been interesting. With Pacers, Celtics, particularly once Tyrese Halliburton was out, the other way.
Well, and also too, I like it's a pretty withering pace doing this every night. Every other night is fine.
Sure. And we'll have enough time to accomplish what we need to accomplish in the off days if this series extends anyway. I missed what Scott Foster. Did you hear him? I did. I missed.
I don't think he was. I think it was just no flagrant.
Okay.
Yeah, I got to remember to turn the stage up when he talks.
The official box score. Okay, so Chris Finch gets called for a tech. Okay, so there will be a free throw coming from it this way.
Is he actually just walking? That's great.
Kyrie Irving's missed some free throws in this series. Not that
one, however. And Minnesota, like, despite the fact that, again, with some of these Towns fouls, it feels as though the wheels are going off. Like, they are actually ahead. They have held Dallas to 63 points in 31 minutes in this game. And it looks like they're going back to the 2-3 now with Reed in for Gobert. They get it to Washington at the foul line. Now Hardy. Gobert is waiting for him, and that's a little too late to get the ball out of there. Now they're late clock. They should have just matched up man to man. That's what they do late. Here's Luka setting up Washington, and because he gets to the middle of the lane there, if you can't keep him on the side, they put Conley into difficulty on that backside with two, and Luka, one of the best at manipulating him. And what do we have here? Just a little cheapo on Hardy out top.
Yes, I believe so.
So Dallas 4 straight points on one possession there to tie it.
And I think that's their fourth team foul.
Hardy giving Irving a rest. Gobert at the elbow. Wants to interact with Edwards. Edwards going downhill at Green. Gets to his spot. Washington dug and got back to Reed. Reed drives through, and that was a beautiful step there. He was tripped, and he'll get to the line.
That is PJ. I think they called that on PJ Washington. That is his third foul, fifth team foul. So Minnesota shooting the rest of the way, though this was a shooting foul anyway. Question: Minnesota is getting a lot of fouls. Their downside to flinch, limping out there and pulling him alone. It's a lot harder to do that, to complain that your team is getting called for too many fouls rather than that your team is getting fouled and they're not calling it. So I it's hard for me to see, like, call fewer fouls on us. It's a hard thing to yell at the refs.
Missed free throw by Reed. Can't complete the 3-point play. McDaniels trying to set pressure. They'll rescreen for Luka. Spain pick and roll again. Luka into the lane. Kicks out of a rare pass that's a little off. Oh, Anderson completely destroyed Hardy on that play. And Anthony Edwards will get two in transition. What a great play by Anderson. And that's the guy you want to leave open. Leave the Spain man open here. None of these guys are elite shooters. Gafford on the short roll. Edwards comes over, and he's going to get his fourth. He's asking for a possible review. Try and see if he actually fouls him here. I can't see it from my angle. Let's see here. Looks clean-ish from there, although, of course, again, we can't fully see it with Gafford's body in between. And they are going to challenge it, I think, I would assume.
They are.
That's what this timeout is.
Maybe we'll actually. Oh no, it's in Dallas. We'll only get. We know. I think if we get to see it, we'll have a pretty good idea. Is this Minnesota's first challenge? Yes, it is. Yeah, neither team has actually done a challenge. We've thought that a couple things were, but there have been replay reviews that were not formally challenges. I wish we had a. Oh, here we go.
Oh, that is exceedingly close. Like, that is a little bit of ball, hand, maybe a little wrist.
So I think if I were reevaluating it with fresh eyes, I would say it's not a defensive foul. But how much deference do you give to the call on the floor?
It looks like Foster's talking to him already. Let's see. Yeah, I think that's if you're actually giving deference to the call on the floor the way you should, that's kind of too close to call. I mean, in theory, if there's any contact on something that's not the hand, it should be a foul, right? I mean, if this is him holding the ball here, right? He's got his big hand. He kind of gets a tiny bit of the ball, hand, but then also on the wrist at the same time too. So in theory, if you're getting contact on any part of the wrist, that should be a foul. So I think that's the right result there. It was exceedingly close.
It was, and they got some contact. You kind of lean with it, and it did seem to an extent like Foster may have used the you kind of gave some deference to on the floor, which generally speaking, I think the league has moved too far away from that in the last little bit. Why is Ant giving Luka the paint? He's fast enough and strong enough to stay in front of him. Luka's a really big, strong dude. And also, when you play the aggressiveness that Edwards would need to consistently, like, to sell out harder there, I think that you're conceding other things. First of all, you're opening yourself up to potential foul calls. And like Luka drilling some, like, I think that you can, I think that he could do a little bit better. I agree with the general conceit of the comment, but there are downsides to that which are important to acknowledge.
And you do. I still think we don't talk about Luka's ball handling enough. It was such an aberration when Kyle Anderson actually like took the ball away from him in that game. Like, so he's so in game 3, he's so slow, but he just is always able to get to where he wants to get to on the floor. Some of that is, let's see, this angle looks like. Yes,
that's even more risk than I thought.
Yeah, that would. I mean, it's really even all the way down to the forearm there. So
yeah, okay, so that's it was an even clearer call there.
Yeah, that angle was quite clear. And if Anthony Edwards, a little more awareness on that would be appreciated to not waste their challenge. Back to the 2-3 here for Minnesota. They're trying to keep Luka contained on the side. He's going to get out of it. And when you can cross sides of the floor, that's where the confusion is caused. Wide open 3. And it's all because Luka Doncic just knows. He understands offensive basketball so well. You might, oh, yeah, it's all right. He gets to the foul line. But just because you do that, that just opens up pockets in the zone. And he starts the chain that gets him an open 3. Here's Edwards. They go under on him. Rescreen. Setting up McDaniels, beautiful pass, and McDaniels cashes out. That was great work by Edwards and Gobert rescreening, and then Edwards just made the easy, simple pass. Mavs trying to get back in transition. Hardy, quick release, just hit one, missed that one. Green's open in the corner. They get it to him off the offensive rebound, and he misses. Gobert can't get it. Finally, it's squeezed by McDaniels. He'll push it. Luka trying to run him down, and they'll reset.
And that was better transition defense by the Mavs.
Blow by Edwards around Gafford, but he left it short. And that could have easily been Gobert's or Ant's 5th. I guess Gobert only has 3, and that's a reach in by Anderson. Luka looking for the transition take foul, but he would have been called for 25 of those this season, so he probably doesn't want that called.
And remarkably, that's only Minnesota's second team foul of the quarter because of the offensive fouls.
Yeah, good foul there though by Anderson. One time, says Doncic. He's reaching at me. He wants a foul one time. He's gotten a foul one time. So now again, Danny, this is Anderson and Gobert without Doncic. I wonder if Kidd is specifically setting it up that way. Here's Hardy going into Gobert, and what is this?
I thought there was an arm that kind of stretched out there.
So is this Gobert's 4th?
That is Gobert's 4th. I wasn't sure originally who. But they don't have a challenge. I also don't know if it should be.
Yeah, Edwards is telling him, don't put the forearm out, go straight up. Let's see. I mean, so yeah, Gobert's getting held there. Yeah, he gets him on the arm.
Yep, that's
I mean, that's and Kleber tried to get the little Gortat screen, but also just by like pretending to post up and like reaching around behind him and holding Gobert, and that's why Gobert can't get there. But it's not a foul unless the whistle blows. Good switch by Anderson onto Irving. Irving going to try to attack. Good hesitation. Left hand. No. Tipped out by Kleber. Wolves have transition here through Reed, and the Mavs get back again. They're just so good at that. Now Edwards off the drop coverage. Just in and out. Nice screen set by Anderson. Kleber did not step up. Now Hardy crossing over on Anderson, and he dunks it. Didn't mess around that time. What a dunk.
And I like the going with speed against Kyle Anderson.
Edwards off the Anderson screen. Gets to his spot. sprays it out. Beautiful flare screen by Anderson. And Alexander Walker's got a couple of three-pointers. Edwards' passing in this quarter has been outstanding.
Much better than the rest of this series.
Yeah, again, things opening up. No Towns, no Gobert on the floor for the Wolves. It's Reed at center. Now Irving. With this group, you do have to have Anderson out there. Here's Irving on the drive. Knocked away, no foul. Right to Kleber. He did kind of short. That looked a little clunky, I would say, with that shoulder. Now it's Green double team to the corner. It's loose. Alexander Walker, he's run it down. Beautiful play there. Anderson gives him the outlet. Edwards has it. Oh, Alexander Walker is wide open on the basket. He's still open in the corner. They'll back out. 2 for 1. Edwards waves everyone away. This is the right call. He could blow right by Green here. 10 to shoot. Edwards trying to back him off. Gets into the lane. Kicks out. Flare screen again. Same thing they just did. Can't get that 3. That was another good pass, though, by Edwards.
And Dallas can hold for functionally the last shot here. I think they should.
Yeah, it took a little bit too long there. But he's been burned by going too early before. We'll see whether, though, if Hardy's hands, if he's going to be the guy, they should try to get it to Irving here. Hardy's going to try Ant. That's not an advantage matchup. But he scores on him. No help from Reed off the strong side corner. They got time, though. They got to go faster than this. Down to 3. Ant finally realizes it. Pulls up from the elbow and drains it off the back rim. Huge shot there by Edwards. As, again, they went a little too early on the other side and let them come back. That showing how that math works again. So we're going to have an interesting fourth quarter here. Dallas, a lot of work to do to close out these pesky Wolves.
And how much Karl-Anthony Towns do we see? He already has 5 fouls. How much Rudy Gobert do we see? And I mean, the Naz Reid minutes at center minutes, I think they've gone reasonably well. They have enough spacing out there. Can Dallas kind of get downhill, make something of these? And do you change as JC Kidd? Like, I'm really interested in how they kind of think about their rotations for the stretch, because these games are every other day, but you do have a chance to potentially close out the series, get a full, at more than a week off until the NBA Finals. And so I don't know how JC Kidd's going to handle it. With the PJ and Gafford additions plus lively improvement, do the Mavs have the potential to be a 55-plus win regular season team? They'd have to stay really healthy. But, yeah, I
mean,
think,
why not, right? I mean, they got 50 this
defense.
year. Irving, missed basically half of the first 50 games. I think Hardy could give them a little bit more. They've got now they better fucking bring Jones back.
Sure.
And they're going to need to figure out a way to get the full mid-level cap-wise.
So Dallas over the full season, they were 17th, including the glass defensive rating, but they were, I think, something more like 7th after the deadline.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think they might even be like 2nd or something.
But even if we said they finished 6th on offense, or so they were 8th last year, 8th on offense, but I think they could do a little bit better than that, and 10th on defense, that would probably be enough to get them in range if they were reasonably healthy. So I don't think it's like inevitable, but it is definitely possible.
No, me neither. I mean, they should be able to get more. Everyone on the team really, other than Kleber and Luka, should be better next year. My guess would be that they move on from Hardaway Jr. for some cost savings. This is the last year of his deal, right?
I believe so, yes.
Mercifully.
Nick Batum wink deal for Derek Jones Jr. The problem is he's non-Bird right now. He's only been on the team for 1 year. And so you would need to go, maybe you could argue that early Bird would be enough for him, but also Dallas has all of these other obligations.
Right. I mean, they got to use the full mid-level on him. I mean, he'll have offers that are high enough, I think, and
I hope
they might even have to go 1+1 at the full mid-level, honestly.
And the other benefit of a 1+1 at the full mid-level, if they could theoretically clear that space, is then early Bird rights would be sufficient to give him whatever. So Tennis Dude says Tim Hardaway Jr. is when your left feel like he gets waived to get full mid-level. That's not the way it works. They would have to trade him, which means they would have to find a team that either would be willing to take Hardaway into cap space or have a trade exception. And presuming that Hardaway Jr. is seen as at least a slightly negative contract, Dallas would have to throw assets at that. They're not an asset-rich team. It's hard.
So Dallas really struggling to score from floater range. Here's Luka getting Anderson on his back, steps through, and he makes the pass again. I mean, that's Alexander Walker just in no man's land on that play.
Yeah, he's helping without helping.
I mean, he's
not doing anything.
He's cracking in to try to maybe take the guy in the dunker spot if Gobert steps up. But once Doncic picks up his dribble, go back to your man. Alexander Walker hit a couple of threes. Now he's missed 2 in a row. That one may be a little too aggressive, I would say. Above the break, plenty of time. Doncic off the screen. Anderson's on his back again. Same thing they just had. Kick out. Jones looking to get into the lane. Leaves it for Gafford and the big dunk. And see, Gobert is looking at Alexander Walker. He's like, hey, where were you? And Alexander Walker's like, hey, last time I sort of helped, and then I gave up in quarter 3. So it just, you can't win either way if you're Alexander Walker. Here's Reed spinning, and
that's going to be a foul on Luka, but that's going to be a foul on Luka before the shooting.
Yeah, so watch Alexander Walker on the backside here. His job is to get inside of Gafford when Gobert steps up. In theory, you see Gobert look at him. It's like, but I mean, to me, like Rudy Gobert needs to be able to guard that, as he's going to get a nice finish at the rim here. Rudy Gobert, the best rim protector in basketball, ostensibly, needs to be able to guard a 2-on-1 between Derrick Jones Jr. and Daniel Gafford. And he's kind of failed in those circumstances. Now Luka works into position. Jones Jr. closed down nicely by Reed. And now he throws it away with the right hand. Anderson going to get the screen from Gobert, who rolls to the rim. They get it to him underneath. He's going to plow into Doncic, and a second foul Doncic. And are they going to count this? Was that a block by Gafford? No, it doesn't. Yes, they are going to count it.
Oh, what another just terrible play by Daniel Gafford.
Yeah, I mean, the ball is like what the hell is that? It's like literally over the rim. It's coming down. I mean, I get that it hasn't hit the backboard yet, but it's like you're putting your hand over the basket to block that. Yeah, that's just like pissing away 2 points.
Not the first time he's done that. Actually, I guess Gobert only made one of the free throws in game 3.
So Wolves remain up 5. There's Irving now guarded by Anderson. He'll pull up over Gobert. Good contest there by Gobert. Gobert, I think, has done a pretty decent job on Irving. Now it's Edwards. I think that hit the foot of Jones. Good no call on the kick. Doncic works in a position. Look out!
Ooh. And Derrick Jones Jr. put a little bit of extra on that with Gobert right there. And I worried about Minnesota's offense in these minutes. They're doing better, but it could potentially go off the rails quickly.
Yeah, Jones Jr. and Gobert were right next to each other, and Jones Jr. just outran him. Now Edwards, he's going to plow in. He goes at Gafford. Can't get the foul call. He's aghast at that. Irving coming downhill at Conley. Reed comes over. Irving finishes. Timeout Wolves as Dallas scores 4 straight to bring it within 1.
And some real feedback loops here. And you could see if they were going to show the Edwards play, Dallas is compressing into the paint because Minnesota just doesn't have enough shooting on the floor. And then that's leading to transition, and they're making some points there.
Yeah. I mean, I appreciate Edwards going at Gafford a little bit more. Like, I don't think that these are impossible layups that he's attempting, but he's not making them. We never get a great look at these on these layups when a foul isn't called to see whether he's got a case or not.
So right now, Dallas has turned the ball over 12 times. Minnesota has 14 points off of those. Minnesota has turned the ball over 14 times. Dallas has 30 points off of those. Now, I think that points off turnovers is a little bit can be a little bit overstated because there's a very big
It
difference
should be
between
points off of steals.
steals, off of
Yeah.
live ball,
I
because
mean, Dean Oliver has been hammering this. I mean, I've been hammering this for 15 years.
because if it's half court offense, then it's really no different. But that is still a massive swing. Let me see on Clean the Glass where I can get from that. So Dallas has Cleaning the Glass, Dallas has a 250 offensive rating off their steals, but they only have 5 of them. So only 5 of those 14 turnovers are steals. And by comparison, 8 of Dallas's 12. So that's actually the one that's a really big problem, is that Minnesota's just not scoring off of Dallas's live ball turnovers. Have Gafford's rim protection stats improved since he was a Wizard? Talking about stuff, but so we don't have. I don't think there's a good way to get tracking like rim protection stats during the postseason. I don't know that anybody's compiling those.
No, they are.
They are.
It's right. It's right on NBA.com.
Okay, so I haven't looked at those.
Just click playoffs.
Okay. I was thinking maybe more of the stuff that Seth Partnow does for us. But I would say he has done well. But Gafford, he's been a good rim protector, like that specific thing. As I recall it, he did reasonably well in Washington overall. It was often not a part of great defenses for various reasons, but that's the thing he does best. He's not the greatest pick and roll technician. He's not always the greatest at kind of like managing the scheme, but also the Wizards have had a bunch of terrible defenders on their roster for most of the last few years. Is Dallas the best fit for Derek Jones Jr. in the league? Maybe he could fit in Denver. I would say, yeah, Dallas, because of the way they generate those threes. I think they're a really good fit. Indiana would also be a really good fit for Derek Jones Jr. because they have Halliburton who can generate similar shots, and they need his defense too. So there are a lot of teams that can use this version of Derek Jones Jr. It's just how much do you trust that he could do, that he would hit shots at this rate and everything else.
Yeah, well, and Luka just, I mean, this is actually something that was noted on Twitter. I can't remember who did it. Just like when Luka throws these passes, they're always right at the guy for a 3. Like that kind of stuff does matter. So Towns is back, and him coming back this early does kind of feel like what we were talking about, where it's like,
well, yeah, they're giving Naz Reid a rest so he can close the game.
Yeah. I mean, Towns was good in that third quarter, right? The beginning of the third, that's his time. Gobert up top. Conley's going to come off of his handoff. Irving has him screen away for Towns. They try to topside Towns. Now he's going to run a 4-5 with Gobert. Gobert slips through. Gobert tries to go up over Gafford. Rebounded by Anderson. Heel run pick and rolls Gobert. Late clock now. It's Towns on the drive. Goes in. Stopped by Gafford. Towns again can't believe the no foul call, but that one looked pretty clean to me. Yeah, no, that's a good block.
Where does Towns think the foul occurred?
A little bit of body contact late.
Not enough.
But it's late. 4.6 to shoot here. Towns trying to carve out position near the basket. They get it to him. Goes in, and he's stopped by Gafford again. What a block. Here's Luka on the push. Irving for 3 in the lead. No. Tipped out. Back to Luka. He's so deadly out those offensive rebounds. Into the paint. He had Gafford underneath. Steps through on Gobert, and there's the 5th foul on Rudy Gobert. And even then, Luka, he had Gafford, but Gobert was so big there, maybe takes away the angle, and then he steps through and gets the trip. That's an amazing block by Gafford. Yep. Gobert gets the leg out there. Luka able to draw the foul. So that's 5 on Gobert, 5 on Towns, 4 on Edwards. All 3 of whom have faced foul trouble throughout the contest.
I can do this one briefly from Zhao. Is there a way that Indiana could get Derek Jones Jr.? Absolutely, there is. It gets a little tighter with Tyrese Halliburton, but functionally they could use the mid-level on Jones instead of retaining Obi Toppin. It's something I would support.
Yeah, and when you talk about the getting tighter on Halliburton, that's because as Towns can't get the rebound, no good there. But because Halliburton made All-NBA, that's going to add $7 million to his cap figure for the next 5 years.
Yeah, and if we presume that the tax is a hard line or close to it, Oh, they switched the call.
Yeah, they do switch the call. Foster and Kennedy talk about it, and it sure looked like Towns.
No, I think it might have hit. I think it might have hit PJ Washington. Their hands were kind of overlapping. I think it might have hit Washington last.
They did not challenge it, although of course there was the call for it. Screen for Gobert, screen for Edwards. Edwards snakes it, but right back into the path of Gobert. Not very good work there. Now Edwards fires, missed it. Good rebound by Luka. Gets it up to Irving. Not a ton of transition here for Dallas. Looking for their first lead in a while. Conley steps out. Pick and pop Jones. Gobert comes over to help out. Jones changing sides of the floor. Sets up Washington. Good box out by Gobert. That was great work there by Jones again, who's been quite effective on those closeout drives in these playoffs. Into the post, Towns. Going to clear out a side for him here. He'll go left, trying to create space. And we're going to get a foul. No, defensive 3 seconds against Gafford.
So
this is the correct call. He's not guarding anyone there.
This has been 4 minutes for Gafford. I think we're going to see some more Kleber minutes here.
Yeah. He probably could use a rest.
Towns puts Minnesota back in the lead, and managing fouls, managing minutes will be a huge part of the end of the game 4. Oh,
Wolves are up.
No, that bounced out of bounds.
Yeah, Wolves up after the Towns free throw.
So Jones Jr. is apoplectic. We're probably not going to get the angle on this. My instinct is he tipped it.
We might if they challenge it. Inadvertent whistle, and it's Dallas ball. Let's see what happens here. Oh yeah, it never goes out of bounds.
Yeah, that is a bad call by Kennedy. Because that would have been transition for Dallas. They probably would have gotten a bucket.
Here's Irving high over Gobert, but he forced him to rush it. Nice defense. Again, Gobert pretty solid on Irving today. Washington is on Edwards. They go after Kleber, re-screen. Edwards getting to his spot off the glass. That's just such a beautiful shot. The way it drops in off the glass from that right side. Now Doncic getting to his spot. Kicks to the corner. Great closeout, McDaniels. Force Irving towards the baseline. Gobert comes over to help. Irving crossing the angle of the defense. Kleber comes in. Passes short of Jones. Washington for 3 just as the shot clock expires. Another great pass by Jones. This one coming down to the end once more. Spain pick and roll. Conley. Pass was too far away from Towns. Towns will drive. Good step up by Luka. See, Gobert, he's got to just catch the ball. And I've said, it's hard to jump when you keep it high. He catches that right in front of his face and brings it down. Like he should just be able to keep that above his head and lay it in instead of bringing it down and getting fouled. And now he's got to shoot free throws instead of that being an and one. Yeah, Kleber just throws a wounded duck, and McDaniels really should have closed out harder there, probably given where that was in the clock.
And so that is the 3rd team foul on Dallas. Minnesota only has 1 team foul so far in the 4th.
Big free throws for Gobert, who's been pretty decent by his standards in the playoffs. And he rims that one out.
How's the active shooting? I think Gobert was going up as he got hit. I'm fine with that being a shooting foul, as I remember it.
Yeah, this is interesting. So taking out Conley, putting in Anderson, going quite big. This is going to be, I guess, Edwards at point guard. I don't think they're going to leave Conley out for long. This might be more of a defensive group. Here's Washington. Going to set the screen for Luka. He should be open on the pick and pop. Towns with a weak hedge. Washington on the drive. Goes in at Gobert. That could have easily been Gobert's 6. Probably should have been. But a great finish by Washington. But Towns just exhausted right there. I'm not sure why. There was just a free throw. He hasn't played very many minutes. He's got to compete better. Now Towns on the quick attack. Left it for the Gobert, and Gobert will dunk it. That was a beautiful decision by Towns.
A great attack there. Push hard, force Gafford in, and then make the pass.
Anderson. Oh, he's got Luka again. Nope, they give the foul this time.
On that one, Anderson, I thought he caught Luka on the wrist. I kind of as he was making the pass, and so you kind of have to.
Yeah. Well, that's funny because remember when Luka was like, "Just give me one," and there you go. There's your one, Luka.
Really like that from Karl-Anthony Towns.
Absolutely. Into Gafford. Luka going to screen for Irving here. Gobert stepping up. Irving pulling up on Gobert. Yes.
But that time, Gobert was still moving. I don't think Irving felt him when he went up for the shot. He knew he could get it off.
1 point Dallas lead. They're 5 minutes and 47 seconds away from their second NBA Finals. Luka's looking a little tired here now. Towns is open off the screen. That goes down. Karl-Anthony Towns with Minnesota back in front. His best game of the series. But now they're not in good order defensively. Washington back to Irving. McDaniels goes under. Irving still on the attack. Gobert comes over, and Irving had to rush it. Ant pushing in transition. Oh, that should be a transition take foul on Luka. They don't call anything. Gobert looking to post up Jones. Instead, he's going to let Ant cook. Ant waves him away. Gobert's not happy. Ant gets to his spot. Good flare screen set by Anderson. He's been great with those. And a great pass. Great finish. Towns has put him up 5, and Dallas needs to talk it over.
Big stretch there. And the stop in between as well. So now it's, 5 is definitely something Dallas can come back from, but it's a harder road now. Nice pass there, too.
I don't know. I kind of think he should have thrown it into the post to Gobert.
So now we get to find out if the Mavs are allowed to make the finals when the Miami Heat are not on the other side.
Oh, yeah. Excuse me. This is their third NBA Finals. Yeah, I totally forgot about 2006.
What time would you put Reed back in? Towns is. I bet that question was before Towns hit 2 threes, but I think
I wouldn't. He's been great.
No, Towns.
Once he got in the second half, he had like 15 points in the second. He's probably
he's more than that. He had 10 points in the third quarter before he got in foul trouble, and he has 2 threes. Yeah. So I think the question was probably before Towns started hitting shots. Yeah. The reason we've been talking about Reed is because you and I are both convinced that Karl-Anthony Towns is going to foul out of this game, and so the idea is you play Towns until he fouls out, and then at that point you have Naz Reid. Will someone foul out? I'm going to be bold and say yes.
Yeah, Dallas has nobody in foul trouble. Nobody has more than 3.
Correct.
For them. Although the overall number of fouls is actually the same. 21 for the Wolves, 20 for Dallas. It's just Dallas has distributed it more throughout the roster.
An egalitarian foul distribution.
Yeah, Luka and Irving, this is their worst combined game of the series so far. Doncic has not taken a shot in some time. He's 6 of 16. They've kind of been running everything through Irving here.
Luka's only taken 3 shots and 2 field goals in the entire second half.
Well, so here's another question. You gonna stick with Anderson as the Wolves now? Or you go back to Conley? Like, Ant's been able to get some pretty good stuff. They've been setting these flare screens.
And also Anderson has been the best defender on Luka. I worry about the hot hand stuff, and it's funny because it's like a defensive hot hand. And I brought up I think that the Anderson Gobert combo is more viable offensively if you have Edwards on the floor. I think I'd lean with it for now, but have Conley ready.
Yeah, it's going to be a defensive possession here too. I might roll with this group a little bit longer and see what the next minute or so brings. Anderson has been so good on Luka, and then the other advantage of that is then you could put McDaniels on Irving. So they're a defensive team. Like Towns and Edwards have kind of just been the guys. Yeah, especially with this starting as a defensive. I mean, Conley is really good, obviously. Like, they should be looking offense, defense. It's so funny, man, these playoffs. Like Kyle Anderson, who I think most people are like, why are they even giving him like 3 minutes in the last series? But I mean, this is a pretty hard group to score against. So Minnesota again, we're gonna have it once more. We're gonna go under 440, and they're gonna have a lead in this series. It'll be all 4 games now. Can they finally close one out? Yeah, and it is. They're gonna try to go at Edwards first, then Gobert. Doncic will fire from way out, just in and out. Good job by Gobert getting back for the rebound. And yeah, there it is. They're going to use it or lose it here. Get Conley back in the game.
And that's why Karl Anthony Towns was not on the floor for that possession, is because they knew they were going to call the foul. They were going to call the timeout.
And this is something that Tim Kawakami always says, and he talked about it a lot with his no defense teams, where coaches and players, they show you with their actions who is good and who isn't. And that possession, they ran a screen to get Anthony Edwards onto Luka rather than Kyle Anderson. That shows you what the Mavs think of Kyle Anderson's defense.
Great point.
That was a huge miss, though, by Luka. I mean, it was right on line. You could tell that they were going to kind of shift into Luka mode. So I think what I would be trying to do with this group is see if I can involve Doncic more defensively now.
Agreed.
I think this is the time to do that. Although I will say Edwards has looked pretty good in pick and roll with Gobert too. Like they've done so, they try to go under, then they rescreen. Like
also, Nate, we're in the final 5 minutes. This is the only time that Luka can be good on defense.
I'm very comfortable with Edwards just taking mid-rangers out of the pick and roll at this point. So again, the Mavs are down 5 with 4:46 left. Can they take it home, or are they going to face a grueling, potentially 2 more games at least in this series? Because Minnesota will probably be favored at home in the next game, especially if Lively doesn't play. Jones switching on to Towns. 4-5 pick and roll into the post. It's Towns. Post up Gobert. He's going to have to go late clock here against Luka. Luka grabbed his arm. Gobert tries to fight it up, and it is indeed a foul on Doncic. That was coming. I think like once Gobert turns, Doncic has to take the forearm off him. Watch the forearm of Luka here.
Yeah, that's a clear foul.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, now Gobert's kind of initiating contact a little bit there too.
But it's all the way up and over. It's over and through. That's a defensive foul, and so that's the 4th personal.
And it's also just so dumb to foul to like even be in like semi position for a foul. Yeah, and you're right. He also has the arms forward there too. Is that what you were referring to?
Yes.
When you said up and over, yeah. So big free throws for Gobert. This could push it to a 3-possession game here, but not if he doesn't make both of them, and he hasn't. And he missed them both. Again, it's just such a killer. Anderson is back in. They've gone offense, defense once more. This time, they tried to set up a little pick and roll. Anderson's on Luka's back. Again, Luka not looking to take that little floater. Here's Washington into Gobert. That was great verticality. It's loose underneath, and it'll be Dallas ball. Wolves don't have a challenge, of course. I just thought, Luka, it's time for Luka to just take that little 6-footer. He's amazing at that shot. He's been passing out of it all night. But now I think is the time to take it. It's there. They get it into Jones up top. Going to screen for Irving on the right side. Forcing him left. They hedge. Irving gets to a spot. Gafford underneath. What a dunk! Under the rim, avoiding the contest of Anderson. And that was a really smart play. They haven't gone Irving pick and roll at Towns much, but Irving is quick enough to get around that Towns hedge. They really had no idea what they wanted to do defensively. Jones gets through the screen. Edwards just going to ISO against Jones. Not really an advantage matchup. He gets past him into the lane. Gafford.
I thought that was a foul on Gafford.
Yeah, I thought he had his arm forward. Maybe there was just no contact. Dallas can tie it with a 3 here. Luka gets the screen, snakes back. He's going to go for that 3. And he's
missed it.
Missed it short. I thought that might have been a foul. Doncic has had a couple of chances at killer threes. Conley's at the table. We're going to go under 3 minutes here. Dallas won't get a chance to use it or lose it. They didn't take it in transition that time. Edwards has Luka on him. He's going to cross over. No, he goes past it to the left, kicks out. Towns was open, and he hits the 3. Not really a reason there for Derrick Jones Jr. to not be in position off the strong side, and that's a huge 3 by Towns. Now Irving coming right back. The pace is frantic here. He kicks out Washington. Good closeout by Edwards. Almost knocks it away. Still loose, and he forced the turnover. Incredible defense by Edwards.
And a really good push here from Minnesota, trying to get trying to hold the lead for the first time in the series.
Yeah, see, Jones Jr., once he digs, he's got to just get back to Towns. He's just kind of hanging out. And yeah, that's just great pressure by Edwards. So now Minnesota, if they could score here, they're going to really put Dallas into trouble. Conley is back in the game to see if they can accomplish it. Anderson is out. Double screen coming for Conley here. Flare screen for Towns. They get through it. Gobert, little blind pig. Towns looking for 3. Blocked from behind. He had the drive, didn't take it. Not a good decision. Now Luka with McDaniels hounding him from behind. Jones Jr. for 3. Can't get it. Didn't quite have his feet set. Luka's looking pretty exhausted here.
Yeah, Luka's missing the use it or lose it.
Well, and he also is looking like he's struggling to run at the moment. Edwards gets the screen from Gobert. Down to 5.
Towns is open.
Works on his man Jones Jr. Stepped through over Gafford. What a finish! And it's an 8-point game. Now you have to avoid giving up the 3 if you're Minnesota. They've got Towns on Luka. They were not in good order. Luka tries to. Oh, I really hate that call there. Seth always says if you don't actually land on the arc contesting, and he does. Yeah, he actually does. So watch his right foot here. Yeah, that's a foul. And that'll do it for Towns. So they give up. Is that going to be 2 shots or 3 for Luka?
It's 3.
That's an absolute killer. We said don't give up a 3. Well, this is just about even worse than that because a 3 doesn't have nearly as much of a chance of scoring 3 points as this does. And Luka, again, just credit him for knowing what he needed to get to. And they are going to bring in Anderson now rather than Reed. I mean, that's just still beautiful footwork.
You could still seal this out with defense. I mean, and Dallas hasn't defended this group incredibly well either. I think this is a reasonable approach to start with.
Anderson rather than Reed. Yeah, no, I like it too because one of the big things of having Anderson is then you get McDaniels onto Irving.
Right.
Yeah, and I don't think that they've been able to make too much of a defensive liability of Anderson. But yeah, watch out for those flare screens. Luka bangs all 3 free throws, and they get it into Edwards. I mean, that's too casual, dude. It's game 4 of the Western Conference Finals. There's 1:37 left. Like, just beat the ball. Be strong. Gobert's going to set the screen. And attacks early. He's going way too early here. Way too early. That is exceedingly foolish. Dallas here gets it into Luka's hands. Conley, there's transition. Gobert switching on to Luka. Luka hunting the 3. Washington corner. Good closeout. And Gobert gets back into the play. Washington, as McDaniels just lost him, but they missed the 3. Now Irving on the rebound. He hits that little left-hander, and that was essential because the shot clock never reset. Now is Dallas going to pressure up? I mean, and just imagine what it would look like right now if there was 45 seconds left instead of a minute. But I think Minnesota's going to need to score again here. A withering stretch. Gobert going to set the screen. He's looking tired now. Rescreen. Edwards. Rescreen again. Pulls it. Huge shot by Anthony Edwards. They're going to call it a 2, but that puts him up 2 possessions. Good timeout here from Kidd to try to get a 2-for-1. But I've really liked the way Edwards and Gobert have just screened and screened and screened against that drop coverage until he's able to get the look that he wanted. So 5-point game here now. What's Dallas trying to get to? They got to get the 3 on this first of these, right?
Down 5 with 38, you need to get a 3 because otherwise it's just too hard otherwise.
And you really you want to get this in the air no later than 32. So you're going to advance the ball. I think Irving might be the guy for me just because he can kind of get it off quickly.
So we had a couple people mention that they should have reviewed that last Karl-Anthony Towns 3. I didn't get another look. I don't think I saw a look at it. It was
whether it was a 2 or a 3.
Yeah, but that's
when did that happen?
That was with, let me see, 254. That was the one where Derek Jones Jr. helped off him.
Right. Yeah, so I think Irving is the guy here. I mean, if Tim Hardaway Jr. weren't totally on ice, you'd want to have him in the game right now. So let's see where everyone is. Yeah, Irving's underneath, so he likes to shoot these going right. We might see him loop around the three-point line here to try to get this shot. Doncic is hanging out near the free throw line. He'll surely be the second option. Yeah, that's what they're doing. Irving going to come to the ball. Now they get the screen. Gobert's way up there in a no threes defense. Irving. Oh, and he's thrown it away. He tried the left-handed pass, but it was just way off target. But great job by Gobert in a no threes defense. They get it to Ant. They have to foul now. He's double teamed. He gets out of it. Ooh, just barely to Conley. And then he's tripped by Gafford. And that'll be their most reliable free throw shooter at the foul line to put this away for the Wolves and send it back to Minnesota as they finally close the game out. And they've done it through defense and Anthony Edwards with 2 really difficult shots. Yeah, Conley, if he puts it to 3 possessions here, the game is completely done. Gets the first one. And this will actually be, Danny, Mike Conley's first ever win in the conference finals. He made it only once before in 2013. Got swept there by the Spurs, and now he was down 3-0. He was 0-7 in conference finals games, and he didn't help his cause there. Mavs will push it here. They got to get a 3. Luka, he's going to fire it. And a foul.
Oh,
he counts. What is going on?
Oh, my goodness.
They reached in on Luka Doncic. I don't think that's a shooting foul, but they don't have a challenge. And he somehow makes it. Unreal. Conley misses the free throw. Luka gets it off, hits a 3, and now they can score here. Minnesota will still be in a commanding position, but to get within 2, and Minnesota has to call timeout to advance the ball here if he makes this.
And Dallas has a timeout left too, so if they can get a split on the free throws.
What a shot by Luka just when you thought they were out. The Wolves, and then Luka misses the free throw. They do foul Gobert though. They should have called timeout to advance it before they could foul Gobert there. That was actually
that was a pretty fast foul though.
I think everyone was so surprised. And Doncic did hit the 3 free throws earlier. I mean, the Wolves have fouled twice in the last 2 minutes on 3-pointers. And they can still blow this, right? Like Gobert, he's got 2 free throws now.
But it
Or
being
did they call it? It is a foul, right? It's not a timeout?
No, it's a timeout.
They did get the timeout. Okay. No, so this is not actually free throws. Excuse me. Great timeout there. Yeah, I thought it was a foul too.
I thought it was.
And now they're going to take Gobert out and put in Naz Reid and surely advance the ball as well. That's a great timeout to not be distracted by the fact that he missed and still just get that timeout immediately. It was great work by the Wolves.
You run a little bit more time. You do run the risk of a turnover, but you get the opportunity. And for Dallas, this is now they still have a timeout left, but this is a tough road. And Minnesota has one timeout left still too. Yeah, because okay. So then that's good for them as well. So then even if there's trouble on this, they can still get another chance.
Yeah. And Dallas does still have a timeout of their own. So they may find a way to get 2 more possessions out of this here, but screen for Conley away.
Who's open?
Into Reid. He's going to try to shoot it and lay it in. Oh, that's a killer for Dallas. They never get a chance to put him at the line even. So great timeout there. Then they get the little backdoor to Reid, and great decision by Reid just to go up with it. Anderson with a beautiful inbounds pass.
That could have been an in one too. Kyrie got him.
Absolutely. He's trying to foul him. So that's going to push it to 5. And now Dallas in big trouble here. They have to hit a 3. Would you foul here as Minnesota?
Joe Mazzulla style?
He did it up 6 with about 30, or I think it was like 35 seconds left, maybe.
If there's an opportunity inside the arc, or there's an opportunity where it's absolutely not going to be called a shooting foul, yes. But it's so hard. But that's.
I don't know. I trust the Wolves not to foul a 3-point shooter.
I trust Kyle Anderson not to, and only Kyle Anderson.
Yeah, this is the first solid defensive effort on Doncic, who is 7 of 21, and Irving is 6 of 18. Wolves defense has been really good inside the arc. Dallas has been particularly powerless from floater range. Now they try to get it in here. Luka going to fire it up. Off the heel, rebounded by Washington. Irving in the corner. He's shut down. Good job by Washington getting back to take the 3. Another miss. Rebounded by Luka. He goes down, and that will do it. The Wolves survive, and they'll get to fight again on a Game 5 that suddenly takes on quite a bit of intrigue. I would think if Lively is out, the Wolves could well be favored in that game.
It's functionally over, even if it's not actually over.
Yeah, it's functionally over because we're going to turn off. So
thank you all for watching. We will be back for Game 5 of this series on Thursday night.
All right, till then.